shorts or basketball shorts, at least where I am. And I remember when guys wore jabot and it was like a complete outfit,
Uh-huh.
like the jacket, the pants, it was like they kind of put kind of effort into their look.
Right.
They matched the belt with the shoes. So that's one. And then hmm, I guess jabot. It was another brand that I'm trying to think of that I don't know if it was necessarily a brand, but I remember at one point in the 90s, there were like all these different, it was a clothing line that did a lot of graffiti type designs on their clothes, but they were always like cartoon characters. Like they would do like the Fat Albert,
I
the,
know what
I
you're
know you're
talking
talking
about.
about.
okay.
God,
I can't think of what the name of it was, but they had like a lot of different like cartoon characters, and it was like kind of these big bold designs and like plastered on the front of the pants and the shirts.
I remember that, but I can't remember. I almost said FUBU, but it wasn't FUBU. It was something else.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because I'm like, no, it wasn't FUBU, because FUBU always had the name
Yeah,
on
that was
there,
the
but
name.
in this particular brand, they didn't never really have the brand like. I could see somebody saying Coogee. No,
Coogee.
I don't know if it was Coogee,
So my
but that's a good one
well,
though.
my top
That's
three
a
was
good.
actually Coogee. Um, I used to love Shun John,
Okay.
and what else I used to like? Uh, I won't say everybody was on like Tommy Hilfiger at one point, but that's not. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. I like Tommy. I
yeah,
didn't forget about it, but it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. But yeah, because I remember Aaliyah actually influenced a lot of people in my age group to want to wear a Tommy, and it was kind of like the thing back in the day too.
and,
So
and
yeah.
I had a lot of the fish. It was the fish. Oh my god, they used to have like designs on the back. It was like it was actually a fishing shirt, a fishing this clothing line, not Nautica. It was hold on,
the fish.
it was a fish. It's always like a swordfish or
I think. Let me look it up. Hold on.
you looking it up,
Yeah, because I'm
Anthony?
like, I want to know now. Because I only thing I could think of is Nautica.
Let me see. Um, I'm not seeing it.
Oh my goodness, it's gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna figure it out before we get off tonight.
Okay.
It's gonna drive me crazy.
Okay.
I used to have all types of polos like
Me
that.
too, because I'm like, fishes? Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. There were a lot of brands though in the
It
90s. There
was.
were so many brands in the 90s. It's like unbelievable because I'm just thinking of all of them like Carl Kanai. You just have so many. It was just a lot. I'm just thinking of like styles in my head and what it looked like, but the names are like slowly coming to me.
Yeah. Gotcha. What
I feel like I got a hesitation here, like a little bit of a lag. If I do, forgive me.
Oh, no
Just
problem.
let me know and I'll repeat whatever I missed.
no problem, no problem. What because Tari had man, that question was amazing. Being able to recognize that's why
I know.
Tari is such a good host. Um, what would you say kind of like influenced you to start J. Marie? Like I know you talked about, the hip hop and stuff like that and then rebranding, but what kind of pushed you over the edge to start it?
Okay. So the biggest thing, which was why I mentioned earlier that I kind of had to go back and say, wait a minute, there's a part of my story that's not here, and I need to incorporate that as well and kind of tell people how I got here because that hip hop thing was just kind of one aspect of what influenced me, but it wasn't the whole story. So growing up, I actually was a person who, a very girly girl. You could not catch me dead in gym shoes or jeans for that matter, which um, if I did wear jeans, it would always be with like a heel and kind of like dressed up. So I never was a person, I never was a sneakerhead, never was the person who did the Jordan thing, never rocked gym shoes, period, in high school. However, once I graduated from high school, I settled in the downtown area and graduated from college, settled in corporate America. So my life became like a lot of walking and parking structures. So that combined with a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, I was kind of like, man, I want to start dressing more comfortable. I'm like, these heels, they're not really it anymore because my body is already achy all the time. So that would just add to it. So I was always like longing to wear like comfortable things, but I never been into gym shoes. So starting to try to wear gym shoes in my 20s, I'm just like going and grabbing the brands that I hear people talking about or brands that I remember people wearing from back in the day. And I'm like, oh no, this is not me. I was always wearing suits and, dresses and skirts. So you can't, a dress and Jordans don't go. I mean, maybe somebody can make it work, but it wasn't working for me. And none of the brands, I just couldn't find anything that I really liked. So I just kind of said, you know what? There's a huge market that's not being addressed here. Where are the sneakers or the brands for a woman like myself? I'm not old and I'm not young. I'm kind of like in mid age range and I still want to be fly. However, I don't want to be athletic. I don't want to be too childish. I don't want to be too masculine. And I want to be able to wear a shoe with a dress if I decided to, or wear a sneaker with a suit if I decided to. So I started thinking, like, man, I think I should come up with my own shoe line. And this was just kind of a thought because at the time I didn't even have the idea of how would you go about doing that. I didn't even know where to start. All I knew was, well, I can start sketching stuff, which I didn't even know how to draw. So I was like, well, maybe I could tell people my ideas and have them draw it and just, look for somebody to make it. That's kind of the idea that I had initially. So as time went on, I was able to do a lot of different research, meet a lot of different people, and I ended up coming across an Italian family that actually has over 20 years experience in the industry. They're actually located in Le Marche, Italy, which is a region that's world renowned for shoemaking. They've worked with brands like Gucci, Prada, Chanel, Todd, Giuseppe, Zanata. So they were willing to help me create a brand and be able to walk me through all of those steps from taking it from a concept to production. And here we are now.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So it kind of happened really, really fast because at the time it just kind of was happening. Like everything just kept happening and forming the brand more and more. Like as I said, it started off initially as I wanted it to be like a hip hop shoe. And then I started thinking like, wait a minute, let me tell my story within this brand. And I think once I started doing that, the brand started having little bits and components of me where they kind of like all fit together to, okay, this we're on to something now.
What's the timeline? Like, how long did it take? Like, from you thinking about it and actually starting the process to now you actually producing the shoe? Like, man,
I would say that it had to be 10 plus years
yeah.
because I know I'm kind of like putting it all in one, breath here.
Mm-hmm.
But it initially, because I've always been into fashion and I knew that I wanted to have my own something. I just didn't know what it was. And as a matter of fact, back in my early 20s, I did attempt to start a shoe line, but it wasn't sneaker related. It was actually heels, which is funny. But at that time, I didn't know anything about the shoe industry. I didn't know anything. I just knew I liked heels and I wanted to be a part of designing my own. So it was kind of like put in the back of my mind because I'm like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. And I would like sketch stuff or just write stuff down. And then it was kind of like put on the back burner. And then, well, actually, I would say earlier than my 20s. It was way earlier than my 20s because I've always been into fashion and shoes. But then after I graduated from college and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, it was something I revisited and thought, I really need to address this. There's not a brand out here that fits a woman like me. Like I'm not liking any of these gym shoes. So let me create what I see.
So it's only shoes created for females?
Well, no, I actually have two